join me in welcoming Pat Mitchell.
Good morning. It's great to be here to share this special day with you. And I want to begin with a confession. I love parades. In fact, I'm something of a parade addict. I love the marching, the music, the meaning of parades. In fact, I'm planning to title my autobiography, if I ever get around to writing one, I Never Missed a Parade, except one, my own commencement parade. I was just a few blocks from here having a baby instead. And that began a long, lifelong parade of seeking balance between work and motherhood. Now, I suspect parades are not the subject you expected today. Media would have been more predictable, given the career that President Adams so generously described, and thank you for the invitation to be here, Mike. Media would have been more predictable, and perhaps you're thinking, why parades? Well, I want to explain why I love parades and why I think they are a commencement-worthy subject. My parade addiction began early, about 100 miles southeast of here, in a small town called Swainsboro, Georgia. The most exciting thing that happened there was the annual Pine Tree Festival Parade. Once a year, all 5,000 residents would rush to the streets. Well, actually, it was one street. We would dress in our Sunday best, and we would cheer on the brightly decorated tractors being pulled by trailers, or trailers being pulled by tractors. It wasn't exactly the Macy's Day Parade. But the sights and sounds of that parade transformed my hometown and me. For the 20 or so minutes that it took for the parade to pass through town, I was somewhere else, imagining parades beyond the borders of my small town and beyond the expectations in place for a young girl growing up in the South in the 50s. But I followed many of those expectations. In fact, when I was 15, I entered one of the competitions to become Miss Pine Tree Festival and get to ride in the lead float. Being in the parade was a true thrill, and my parade addiction kicked in for sure. But when the parade came to a sudden stop due to a malfunction in the tractor that was pulling the Queen's float, I fell forward on my face in front of the whole town, total humiliation instead of the waving and smiling of moments before. Well, within minutes, the tractor and I both recovered. The parade continued. And later, I was trying to regain my enthusiasm about parades when my beloved Cherokee grandmother, who had a very special way of phrasing things, said, "Honey, falling on your face is at least a forward movement." Well, now that new perspective on parades, which always move forward, and falling on my face has had great meaning in my life. In my journey from that small town to now, when I have stumbled or lost my balance, when I have competed and didn't win, when an idea of mine was rejected, and when I was unemployed and broke, I think of my grandmother's words, and she was right. Every time the fall, the risk, the disappointment, the failure moved me forward in my life's journey. One of the most important places in that journey was here at UGA, where I enrolled as a scholarship student in 1961, defying my father's wishes that I go to a small women's college. My father, who also loved parades, had been in the military and made his living after the war selling televisions, but he refused to let his own family have one. Bad influence, he would say, when I would beg to have one in our own house. Years later, when I was making a very good living as a television reporter, my father's comment was, "All that big university education for this? What a waste." Well, my time at this big university was not a waste. It was transformative in so many ways. My class came of age here during two great social justice movements: civil rights for African Americans and full equality for women. Now, your class is coming of political age in a world of social media revolutions, ignited by technologies that can topple governments, crowdsource protest, and make or break a reputation in a 130-character tweet. However they begin or end, all revolutions begin with an idea and a purpose. Now, I came here all those many years ago with a lot of big ideas about what I wanted for my life, but very little purpose beyond my own career path and life's dreams. But I left here prepared to pursue those dreams and transformed by a new sense of purpose about ensuring and defending that right for everyone. It began when I met Charlene Hunter Galt, one of the first African American students admitted to UGA. It's hard to imagine now what greeted her presence here then. Parades of students throwing rocks and insults. One morning I decided to join a small parade of friends and supporters walking Charlene to class. I felt fear as we navigated through the protesters. But I also felt a new sense of power that came from the collective action, however small, of that parade. This was my first parade with purpose. In this case, the purpose was to protect Charlene and to show our support for her being here. Ironically, 30 years later, Charlene and I reconnected in Washington. She was working for PBS NewsHour, and I was the PBS president. We talked about how much had changed and how much hadn't. She was at that time still daring to be on the front lines of change and was still dodging rocks in her adopted home in South Africa. And I was navigating the challenges of being the first woman to lead PBS, because when you are the first woman, the first African American, the first of anything, there are challenges. And many of you will be the first at some point in your life. Even now, with all the enlightened changes in practice and policy, you will find yourself most likely doing something that no one like you, no one your gender, no one your color, no one speaking your language, no one from your place of birth has done before. And that will be your opportunity to join or lead a parade with purpose. Maybe your purpose will be to challenge a company's hiring or promotion policy, or advocate for more diversity in top management or in the corporate boardroom. Or maybe your purpose will be to shape new family policies so that mothers and fathers can pursue the work they love and still be the parents they want to be. Because when you are the first, you have an opportunity to redefine what a leader looks like and how power can be used. But first you have to acknowledge that you have power. And that's something harder when you're the first or the only or still one of the few. Not long ago, I invited a small group of women Google executives to join me at a conference, the Fortune's Most Powerful Women's Conference. conference. They quickly agreed, but then explained to me, I won't be able to say I'm going to the powerful women's conference because then my colleagues will think that I think I'm powerful. You are, I replied. You're an executive working at a media company that has changed the way the world communicates. What are you doing with that power? Doing something outside our own job responsibilities is a way of using power, of optimizing our spheres of influence, whether we're the corporate secretary or the CEO. I need to offer a word of caution. Using power to lead or even join a parade with purpose does come with consequences. It may not be popular. You could get identified as an agitator, an activist, not on the team. And parades with purpose always attract doubters and detractors, and you'll feel the pressure to stay on the sidelines, to be silent, to support the status quo in your company or even your country. It happens everywhere. I felt those pressures, and I've had to weigh the consequences to choose to participate knowing that it could be risky, putting a job, a relationship, a reputation in jeopardy. I faced just such a dilemma right here when I was a faculty member at UGA. A big civil rights march was planned, and there was a court injunction against it. But believing as I did in the purpose of that parade, I decided, along with a few of my students, to join it. We were arrested. Well, more accurately, we were rounded up, put in a holding pen near the Clark County Jail, and later released. And as I was leaving, a red truck came careening into the parking lot, and a gentleman farmer jumped out and confronted me and said, "Are you the English teacher that led my son to break the law?" Yes, I had to acknowledge. I half expected a fist in my face, but instead he stuck out his hand and shook it hard and said, "Well, at least it got him to care about something enough to get off his..." You can fill in the rest. Joining or leading a parade with purpose, one that disrupts, one that advocates for new ideas, one that does redefine leadership and power, can also have unintended consequences. Participating in these parades can give you something increasingly hard to find in today's driven and economically competitive environment. It can give you true happiness. Yes, it seems that some very serious social scientist research done in very big and important universities has proven that engaging in activities that are outside our career paths and beyond our own self-interest can lead to greater levels of happiness. Participating and leading parades of purpose turn out to be good for you as well as others. Now, you may be thinking right now, these are all very nice feelings, but they're hardly high on your priority list. Your priority list is to get a good job and make enough income to pay back those loans that you did, to get the degrees that could put you in the leadership position in life's parades. There'll be time later on to think about such concepts as power, purpose, happiness. But if you miss so much, and you will, if you pass up the parades that take you somewhere you hadn't planned to go. And you'll miss the richness of a life lived fully if you don't participate as fully and as passionately as possible. Because not only will your parades bring about positive change for others, but they will, in fact, make you a happier, more fulfilled person. I believe this because it's been my experience. When I reflect on all those big titles and positions I've been fortunate enough to have, I know what made me happy. I feel very fortunate to be where I am now, leading a big conversation about media and how it is transforming our lives and our world. And yes, I have power, and I have a sphere of influence that I take as a responsibility as well as a privilege. I know that my decisions still as a woman leader and my choices as a media consumer have impact, so I want them to have purpose as well. So whatever career path you take, whatever job you find and enjoy, there will be these parades with purpose that I urge you to consider. Good causes, campaigns for change that need you. They need you and your education. They need your inventions, your discoveries, your art, and your music, your solutions to climate change, ethnic conflicts, water shortages, racial and religious tensions, and the ever-increasing violence against women and girls everywhere. These are all parades with purpose, looking for passionate participants and empowered leaders. That's you. Your life's parade begins here and now. Don't miss it. Thank you.